Howdy folks, Jericho here. So, kind of a gloomy Sunday morning. I'm downtown St. Louis at Serra Park. And this rusted metal that I'm leaning up against behind me here is part of a piece of sculpture that the locals call the Serra sculpture, but which the artist, Richard Serra, titled Twain. Twain, or the Serra sculpture, have an interesting history with the city. 1974, the city contracted, depends on who you ask how they put it, Richard Serra to bring a massive sculpture to the city. Serra does huge sculptures in what he calls Core 10 steel, or weathering steel. As you can see behind me, the steel looks to be rusted, and that's on purpose. As it weathers, as it oxidizes, it develops a patina that actually ends up protecting the steel. Pretty much this weathered steel won't get any rustier, or not much rustier, and will last centuries. As far as humans really can get into a permanence for a structure. The sculpture was installed 81, dedicated 82 here in the park. The park takes up an entire city block. Since that point, St. Louisans have, for the most part, hated this sculpture. It's modern, it's minimalist, it's challenging. And you'll see this in article after article. The average person doesn't understand art that's, well, modern, minimalist, and challenging. I think that doesn't give credit to a lot of smart, sensitive, artistically minded St. Louisans, but the people with the loudest voices have hated it the most. It is different. It is plain, in a way. And in another way, it's overwhelming, because it's just big slabs of steel. Where's the art in that? I've read a couple of different places where people have said, well, I could do that, which is often a criticism of minimalist art. Anybody could draw a line on a canvas. Yeah, but the artist did it. Serra put down 8 slabs of metal in the middle of a city. The city built a park around it. For me, it's still challenging. Maybe I'm one of the average people. But I also find beauty in certain types of decay. This is decay on purpose, but only to a point. Big pieces of metal that are going to develop a patina, a decay, if you will, a rust, but not go any further. Serra designed the sculpture for this location. In other words, if you removed it from this location, you would essentially take the soul out of the sculpture. You'd destroy it. A lot of people have suggested that the sculpture should be picked up and moved to a sculpture park south of St. Louis known as Laumeier. But essentially, as I said, you'd be destroying the sculpture because you'd be removing it from the environment in which it's intended to be experienced. And that's also one of the intents of the sculpture, is that it is to be experienced. It's to be interacted with. People should walk around and look through the gaps between the metal, see the buildings beyond, see the city beyond, through the lens that's created by the metal. Part of me says artistic hubbub. But having done it today, I kind of see the point. I hope I can show that point to you here in a little bit of video. It does change your perspective and change your focus. There's nothing miraculous about this space, and there's nothing evil about this space either. I think the hatred and the vitriol that's been thrown at it is overdone, overwrought, unlike the metal of the sculpture. If St. Louis wants to get rid of it, fine. The funny thing is, in all of the criticisms I've seen where people say it should be removed and we should put other art there, I never hear what art. It's almost as if the people complaining, the critics, don't know what they want to go here, just know that they hate this sculpture. I find that interesting. I think it says more about the critics than it does about the sculpture. I think one of the other big criticisms I've seen time and time again about this sculpture that says more about the critics than it does the sculpture is that the homeless shelter here, and the homeless urinate here, and the homeless have sex here. That to me says you're not taking care of the most vulnerable people in your city. And you're annoyed, angry, pissed off that they're using a piece of art that you hate in order to shelter in. I don't know if I love this sculpture, hate it. It's definitely an experience I think people should take. I think people need to rethink the things they hate and come up with things that they love. I think one of the problems that this sculpture faces, that also faces a lot of municipal projects, is something simple and something really complex. Voters. People want beauty and art and culture, but have trouble agreeing on what those things are. Democracy says that the most votes win. But when you put something like art to a vote by a large number of people, a lot of people are going to end up angry. Democracy is about compromise. Art isn't. When I looked at what Serra intended for this park, he intended that there be more trees, that there would be beautiful benches for people to sit on, elegant lamps, that the whole park be a way to associate with the sculpture and experience the city in a different way. And that was initially all approved by the city of St. Louis, and then it wasn't. So you ended up with the sculpture and some trees, and apparently some trees died after they were planted, but none of the benches, none of the elegant lamps, just 8 slabs of steel in a not very well maintained park. Now, in recent years, there's been efforts to renovate the Gateway Mall. The Serra Park is the anchor for that mall. It's the first of 6 parks that lead right into the new Gateway Arch grounds. And there have been some efforts to improve Serra Park, but nothing like what was originally intended. If the money had been spent that was originally allocated, if the effort had been put forward, maybe people would have had a different reaction to the park. Maybe there wouldn't be the vitriol. Maybe people would be here interacting with it. Instead, as we've seen today, and by we, I mean myself and my best friends here, Max, as we've seen today, most of the beings interacting with the park are dogs. Critics are complaining that homeless people are urinating here. All I've seen are dogs urinating here today. St. Louis has its beauty and its wonder. And I've been a critic of this city for years, decades, my entire life. But its moments in the history of this town where there could have been improvement, where there could have been a difference made. The city could have been better, different. Patrons of the arts brought a world-renowned sculptor's work to this town. Richard Serra has done huge, sweeping works all over the world. Lauded and applauded. And there's a second work of his in town called Joe that is actually loved to a degree. Even though it too is modern and minimalist and challenging. It's just not as challenging as Twain. This could have drawn more people to the city. It could have attracted people like other sculptures have in other cities. But because the people hate it, and they don't even know why, they don't promote it. And it sits here in an unmaintained park coated in dog urine. It's too bad. I'm Jericho on the road at Serra Park in St. Louis. Keep on going.